minus 2.5 games, plus 330. Panthers 2+ goals in every game, plus 225.
It's going to take a monumental effort for them not to get 2 goals in a game. It's going to take what Bobrovsky did last night. It's going to take Skinner to do in Edmonton. They're not going to do it in Florida.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
You're going a little deep bomb hunting here. We don't care that we have the one heavy favorite with Rory, a couple other guys like Fleetwood and Tagala, etc. You're going to go a little deeper down the board.
This course, I think, is going to play a little bit more to the wedges. They have, what they did is they've renovated it to basically block off some of the bombing alleys for these guys. They've narrowed the fairways.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It is hour number 2 live right here on this Wednesday on the early line. It is also the eve of our nation's national championship. It's the 2024 United States Open at Pinehurst number 2. And in the Tar Heel State, we go now live to our guy, Charlie Hulme, joining us here on this Wednesday morning, the producer and one of the co-hosts of The Smiley Show that you can see across the SportsGrid network each and every week on a daily basis. Charlie, we appreciate the time on this Wednesday. You've been at Pinehurst this week. You are getting us set for the U.S. Open on the day before. What's the excitement level like down there in North Carolina?
Man, well, first of all, Ben and Donnie, appreciate y'all having me on. This is a fun little tradition as we get to every major championship this year. And this one's a little bit special for me personally because I live in Durham, North Carolina. I'm a North Carolina Tar Heel. So having a major championship in my home state is incredible. And I've been driving back and forth from Durham this week, which regrettable decision. We don't have to get too far into that, but just being there and feeling the vibes and having played this course and been in the village of Pinehurst on non-major weeks and just watching it transform this week, I think we are shaping up for something really special for a number of different reasons. But I think the course is in incredible condition. I think the storylines coming in are exceptional. And I think it's going to be a really fun one this week, guys.
So, Charlie, you mentioned you've played this track before. You played Pinehurst number 2 back in March. You have been on the grounds this week. And the USGA always likes to get a little tricky when it comes to the setup for the U.S. Open to make it its name, the toughest test in all of golf. What have you seen out of the course conditions this week? How do you think it will play for the best players in all the world?
I mean, I thought it was difficult for mere mortals back in March when it was soft and coming out of dormancy with those Bermuda grasses. And I'm looking at it this week and I'm thinking, boy, oh boy, we might see some really high scores if you don't know how to play this course correctly. And I think the interesting thing about Pinehurst number 2 is the two kind of main defense systems that the course has. And the one is those, it's Donald Ross who designed this course, way back in the day, these turtleback greens that all kind of roll off in all directions. They're going to be running incredibly fast this week. And they kind of run off into all these little areas, kind of collection areas around the green that aren't rough, but you have a lot of different options of things you can do around the green, but none of them are straightforward. So a lot of guys like to putt. We've seen, Colin Morikawa and others pulling out 3-wood and kind of bumping some balls up into that collar and seeing if they can roll out at the right kind of pace. We saw Tiger Woods hitting some 4-irons into those approaches. So there are a lot of different creative ways to approach that. But, listen, if you get that wrong, you could be hitting it back and forth, across the green because these things are rolling so fast. And I think the other thing that's interesting about this course is the native areas, the sort of, grass areas that surround the fairways. There's not true rough on this course. So you have a fairway cut that goes right into the sort of dirt, sandy area where these native grasses are planted in it. And 8 out of 10 times, you can get a pretty solid lie. You hit a drive that kind of rolls in there and you might get a clean lie in the sand. You can impart spin on that ball and you can stop it on these very firm, very fast greens. But the 2 out of the 10 times when you get a bad lie and it gets clumped up in that wiregrass, we are bringing some seriously big numbers into play. And that's why I think this week could get really interesting is you can see a guy leading the tournament way out in front, playing great, gets a bum lie off a drive that really isn't that bad and brings the rest of the field back into it. That's why I think we could have a really fun week on our hands.
It sounds great. I love the U.S. Open. I love the preparation for it, the true chest of golf. But when we talk about Pinehurst number 2, in each and every major tournament that we come up with here, Charlie, it's like there are signature holes or a cluster of holes that you can gain strokes or lose strokes. What are some of the holes that we should watch out for this week at Pinehurst number 2?
It's a great question because I actually think, and I'm going to give you a non-answer here, but that's the one sort of knock on Pinehurst number 2 is that versus, some of these courses we see that are these grand majors championship stages, the whole thing kind of bleeds together in a way. It's almost like this Donald Ross theme. You see a lot of his courses where nothing really kind of stands out. There are some drivable par 4s out there where, we're seeing Bryson, kind of look at certain angles that he wants to take. And by the way, I love Bryson this week. I think he could be a really good play coming off the heels of a good performance at the PGA Championship. But really, I think what it's going to come down to is it's not a crazy long course. They're going to have it set up longer for the U.S. Open, but it's going to be about, what club are these guys hitting into a lot of these greens? And a longer guy like Bryson, who can hit the ball higher and stop it faster on these really firm, fast greens, I think has a great chance for success this week.
We saw yesterday, Charlie, from your guy Smiley, who was there for the golf broadcast on NBC, share out some plant names at Pinehurst number 2. A couple of my favorites, the Chinese forget-me-not, the Sulfur Cosmos, the Venus-looking glass. So there's a lot of vegetation all around at Pinehurst number 2. Now to the actual golfers and the odds. And, of course, Charlie, any conversation right now in the world of golf starts with world number 1, Scottie Scheffler, victorious last week at the Memorial at Jack's Place, his 5th victory in his last 8 starts. Plus 280. Somehow, Charlie, the number is 20 cents shorter than it was when we were breaking down the U.S. Open yesterday. What is your outlook for Scottie Scheffler at the U.S. Open this week?
I hate to kind of go against everything I just said, but I do think there's a chance we enter a very anticlimactic territory with Scottie this week where, there's everyone else, the best player in the field, short of Scottie Scheffler is it maybe around a 3 or 4 under number. And there's Scottie out there at like 8 or 9, because that's just where we are with Scottie right now. His only weakness was the putter. And once he kind of got that shored up this year with his run of wins, the only thing that could stop him is the Louisville Police Department. It's really and truly insane. It's the golf he's playing right now. It just tee to green, and even some of these, he drives it so far, he drives it so straight, and then approach ball striking. It's the best thing we've seen since Tiger Woods. So for him, I think the only thing that derails him is if it gets tricky around the greens, and if maybe some of the shots, because he hits the ball high, but he likes to kind of change his approach angles and kind of flight the ball differently depending on the course he's playing. And so maybe if some of those approach shots don't hold the greens in the way he wants to, and he has some tricky pitches around the green, maybe he doesn't pull away from the field like I maybe expect him to, but he's a great player with the wedges around the green. He does everything well. And I think honestly, the green speeds maybe benefit a guy like Scottie who's had some struggles on the green. It's one consistent speed, everything you have to have a ton of respect for, and you're just trying to lag it in a little, hula hoop right around the green where you can tap it in. And, I think there's a good chance you're with it.
By the way, Charlie, we take a look at this tournament. There's a lot of other guys, obviously, along with Scheffler, but he always gets the main focus here. Maybe a guy that might not be in contention but has a lot of focus, that's Tiger Woods. And we've heard it. Tiger's saying he likes this because it feels like he's in Florida. Hot, muggy conditions, not an ultra-hilly golf course, and can certainly maybe play. But you take a look at him to miss the cut, it's a minus 310 price. Expectations for Tiger Woods from you this weekend, what are they?
I think, and when we talked, he missed the cut of the PGA, and we were optimistic there. I think the problem there for him is we didn't know how much of a scoring fest it was going to be at Valhalla, and so all these guys could just run away from it. Where a guy like Tiger, who maybe has trouble scoring, going deep at this level of his career, had a little bit of trouble keeping up. Here, man, I like him to make the cut this week. I don't know about contend, but the reason why I like it is there are going to be a lot of guys who shoot really big scores. There's not a ton of difference between a 68 or a 70 out here and an 80. It can get away from you real quick. So a guy like Tiger, who Bermuda grass, like Florida, we saw him with all those crafty shots around the green in his practice round, hitting these little bump 4-irons into these approaches that not a toolkit that everybody has. I like Tiger to just basically on experience alone stay around it and make the cut this week. I think this course really does suit him well.
Charlie, 30 seconds left. If it's not Scotty to win the United States Open, who are some names to know?
Colin and Xander, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele playing great right now, but I love Bryson. I fall more and more in love with Bryson. Just bomb it up there, hit it higher than everybody else. He's a mad scientist. I love this track for him this week.
Wow. Ludwig? No, Ludwig love? Ludwig over there.
Ludwig's long and straight.
Charlie, that's your guy. You
That is my
correctly
guy.
predicted that Ludwig would be in major contention. We love it, Charlie Hulme. Thank you so much. More on the early line up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen and watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
We love a little off-season drama around the National Football League. Mandatory minicamp going around the National Football League this week, and mandatory being that vital word. If you do not show up, you might be subject to fines for whatever reason if it's a non-excused absence. So yesterday, when Robert Saleh took the microphone stand to say that Aaron Rodgers was not attending mandatory minicamp this week for the New York Jets and that it was an unexcused absence and Aaron Rodgers would be subject to fines. It made it a little bit of interesting conjecture for an event that is, quote, important to him. That is Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers not at mandatory minicamp for the New York Jets. Donnie, is it a big deal?
It's not a big deal, but the optics are terrible. Now, also, you're trying to get the whole full squad together for a couple days to install some things on offense and defense, and when the quarterback's not there, that sticks out. And also, this isn't a quarterback with a track record with the New York Jets of going, hey, man, I was here 1 year. I won a Super Bowl. I'm going to take some time off, and everybody's going to be okay with it. But also, the optics of your head coach basically standing up, they're like, it's unexcused. Yep, by the CBA, he will be fined for this. But yet, we don't get any answers on where he actually is. All we're getting off, this is an event that's very important to Aaron, and he felt he needed to be there. We haven't found out what that event is, because I'm sure we'll find out sooner than later, and we'll have a lot of fun with it. But the optics are terrible. But let's get something straight right now. Aaron Rodgers missing a practice on June 11th and June 12th has no bearing on the way they're going to plan out their season. It's not as if he's like, you know what, Ben? I'm with the Jets. I haven't showed up to any OTAs, voluntary or mandatory. I'll see you guys in training camp. He's been there every step of the way. It's his offense. He's not missing anything that he's not going to get when he comes back here in forms of a playbook or new plays here. We love to make a big do out of nothing in the offseason, which really is, but it's fun still to talk about at the same time.
And that is a key component of this. Aaron Rodgers has been a member of these offseason programs that the New York Jets have undertaken the last few weeks and months. He was at OTAs. He was there as the guys got back in the facility. And it's mandatory minicamp, but it's really 2 practices, yesterday and this afternoon as well. But for an individual that stated at the end of last season that if the Jets want to have success entering 2024, they need to forego and get rid of every single distraction that is not football inside that organization, he seemingly only can be a distraction. He was going to run for the vice presidency a couple of months ago, and now he is skipping out on mandatory minicamp. Donnie is spot on. It's not a big deal. It does not actually impact the football the New York Jets are going to play or how many points the offense led by Aaron Rodgers is going to score this season. But it is mentality, and it serves as, whether fair or unfair to start this speculation, another distraction for a guy that pretty much has to look around, and it's the hot dog suit meme from I Think You Should Leave. Whose fault is this? It's on Aaron Rodgers, and that seems to be the issue for the New York Jets.
Yes, and also, let's keep in mind the timeline of Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. Obviously, what's he play? 2-3 plays on opening night, gets injured. Right. Swears to the Jets he's going to make one of the fastest recoveries we've ever seen for a quarterback, an Achilles injury. Don't you dare go out and get another quarterback here that might take my shine. They took his advice. He never comes back. But also, let's fast forward to the end of the season. Every decision that makes between the Jets and Aaron Rodgers typically feels like it's Aaron Rodgers. And don't remember at the end of the season, hey, by the way, kick this guy off who's just trying to make a living because I want to come throw a couple slant passes in practice this final week. And it comes out as Aaron Rodgers, Ben, basically telling us what? I had no idea that decision was actually going to be. No, Aaron, you actually made that decision and just got upset that it came out that a guy just trying to make a living gets kicked off the team because you wanted to put a jersey on in practice and throw 3 slant passes and hang out with your boys at that point here. So let's not forget, he runs that organization and continually does so. Yeah. They're expecting big dividends this year. We'll see if they get it. But this has been a rocky start for the Jets here early on.
And Donnie, injury aside for Aaron Rodgers, the investment into Aaron Rodgers to bring him over from Green Bay. Now he is 40 years old. With all that has been invested in Aaron, with all the decisions that he has clearly influenced, Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator, so many of the members of that offense and roster a year ago and into 2024. If it does not work out this season, and what exactly does work out mean? What is that standard of success that would make it all worth it? The New York Jets have set back their franchise by bare minimum 5 years. What does it really matter for an organization that has failed to make the postseason for 13 consecutive years if they're behind the 8 ball by 5 more? But it must and at bare minimum, in a playoff appearance this year, for Gang Green to even say, yeah, I guess in the end it was kind of worth it. They are favored to make the postseason at minus 176. The win total is 9.5. The over has the juice, expected to win double-digit games. I remain skeptical. Do you?
I'm skeptical because of the injury. I'm not skeptical because of the talent that I still think Aaron Rodgers has, and also the quality of a team that the Jets are going to put on the field. If he stays, imagine if he stayed healthy last year and just played average Aaron Rodgers football, they would have made the playoffs. But the expectations of we have to get to the AFC Championship game and or get to the Super Bowl and win it, I'm not just there. But also, if we're taking a look at the floor level expectations, it must be you're in the playoffs and you win at least one round here. Just to say, okay, this was somewhat of a success. But they didn't get Aaron Rodgers here, Ben, right, when they made that move to say, let's bring him to town. Hey, hopefully we get to the playoffs. Their aspirations right off the bat were a Super Bowl that got dashed in the first drive of their season. They should win double-digit games or get close to it. They should be in the playoffs and should win a game. That's a good team with a good quarterback. Let's see how they progress. But also, you want to get the football things and keep that the main thing. They're not doing that right now for the Jets, and we'll see how that New York media feeds off of it.
I said bare minimum to justify any of this reach the playoffs. I think Donnie is more accurate. It's probably a spot in the AFC Championship game that would be that level of success that reaches expectation. Aaron Rodgers, who won back-to-back MVP awards in 2020 and 2021, had his worst statistical season in 2022. And then, of course, only 4 offensive snaps a year ago. Oh, Christian McCaffrey, by the way, named the cover athlete for Madden 25. Got a raise last week, cover athlete this week on Madden 25. NBA Finals outlooks up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rhodes.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 9.20 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Before the NBA Finals got underway, we gave you a pick 6, a series leader in any of the components. So how are those series leaders stacking up so far to the first 2 games of the NBA Finals? Donnie, as you can imagine, Luka Doncic is outscoring everybody else in this series by nearly 20 points individually. 30 in both, 30 in game one, 32 in game number two. Jaylen Brown, leading scorer for Boston in game number one. Second most in game number two behind Drew Holiday is the Celtics' leading scorer in the second most points scored in the NBA Finals at 43. But that market to bet now off the board because of Luka's dominance.
Yeah, and of course it should be there because also, even though we're hearing about getting injections into your knee, which certainly is never a good thing, this didn't just pop up after game number one or game number two. This has been going on for quite some time here with Dallas, where we knew that he was banged up, and also getting those alerts on game day multiple times, downgrade in status for Luka Doncic. In every single game we get that, it seems like it's 40-plus minutes and another 30 points, and also maybe even a 30-point triple-double at that point. So from my perspective, I'm not losing any steam on Luka. He should easily take down that points number because why? The usage rate is going to be there regardless if he's getting injections into his knee or not.
The usage rate is there. The efficiency also has been there for Luka Doncic. His points prop tonight, 32.5. Jason Tatum has the second highest points prop at 26 in a hook. Of course, a number Jason Tatum hasn't even gotten close to throughout the opening two games in this NBA championship series. Would it surprise you then that individually Luka Doncic is the odds-on favorite to lead every of the stat categories that you can bet on the FanDuel Sportsbook? Points already off the board, but he was minus 180 entering the set. He is the rebounding's favorite at minus 105 and leads the series in rebounds by 1 over Jason Tatum. Still a hefty odds-on favorite to lead in assists at minus 175, although Tatum has a 5-assist gap right now because Luka only had 1 dime in game number 1 and Tatum had 12 in game number 2. Luka Doncic also the most made threes so far throughout this series, 8 in total. But Derek White hot on his heels after hitting 4 triples in game number 2.
Yeah, by the way, that assist one is kind of interesting, as you pointed out, because let's just say we only go 4 games. 5 assists, it's not overwhelming that he can't do that, but also keep in mind, we're talking about Luka Doncic, the player himself. And if you are the Dallas Mavericks, who are you looking towards to make that big play? It's Luka, which means he's going to have to shoot 25-plus times because he will have to get into the 30s for them to even have a chance at winning. Yeah, it's all fine and good. The only thing that's the assist, you can't make happen yourself. You can out-grit people for rebounds. You can take the basketball and shoot a ton of times to rack up points. The one thing you can never guarantee is assists like, ooh, let me get a couple assists in this quarter. Well, other guys have to participate on that. Wide open three-point shots, which aren't going down. Fast breaks here where they're saying, all right, we're just going to key on you, Luka, so you can't pass the basketball. You better score it yourself. That's the tough one here. So if there is one market that I might fade on Luka Doncic, it would be the assist. And granted, he still might get 10 assists tonight in a triple-double. But that doesn't mean that Jason Tatum's going to fall off the earth with, oh, he only got 1 assist here. It's apparent that everything is working in unison here. Even if the points aren't happening for Tatum, other guys are stepping up, which means those easy buckets to get those assists. So it's interesting. Luka's usage rate is going to be sky high. And again, the only market I would look at maybe a little bit differentiating would be the assists.
Yeah, I would agree. Jason Tatum right now with a 5-assist advantage. One of my best bets for that pick 6 pre-series in the series specials market was a plus 550 number on Tatum to record at least 5 dimes in every game of the NBA Finals. And depending on how many games we see, Jason Tatum might not have to do that all that much longer. He had 5 in game number 1, 12 in game number 2. Jason Tatum has recorded at least 5 assists in 10 of the last 11 for Boston, which means he's probably not going to drop off in that considerable of a margin. But Luka Doncic is not going to have another game you would expect with only 1 assist like he had in game number 1. But, Donnie, all of this is great that Luka Doncic is pretty much leading every single stat category and is the odds-on favorite. But it's also been the story of the series that the best individual player is on Dallas. His name, Luka Doncic. But without any other support, they are not going to outweigh the balance in depth of Boston. It's why the Celtics have looked dominant in their first 2 wins.
Absolutely, and might look dominant again in their performance on the road, even though the odds makers are stating that the Mavericks should be able to throw the kitchen sink at them and get a victory tonight. I don't think anybody's fading Luka in this game, but there are some stuff we'll talk about on the Celtics with Porzingis out. There's a certain player that steps back into my forecast here, so we'll have some fun with that a little bit later. But we're all looking forward to game number 3, no doubt.
We certainly are. And that includes Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final up in Edmonton tomorrow night. Pete Jensen joins us next on the early line.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
3-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 9.20 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
One more off day as we make the long travel from Sunrise, Florida, all the way up to Edmonton, Alberta, for game number 3 of the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. That's tomorrow night in Edmonton as the Oilers look to get their first win of this Cup Final. The Panthers 2 wins away from their first ever Stanley Cup title. Joining us here on this Wednesday to look at the series overall, Pete Jensen from the NHL gets you set for Game 3 and beyond. Pete, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for being here.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, the Oilers are down, but certainly not out. I think we've seen real resiliency from them in past series. They actually lost consecutive games at one point in the series against Dallas. People thought they were done. Then they won a home game to tie it up and then ended up winning 3 straight to win the series. So you never know.
We know what that home ice environment is like up at the Rogers Place. It is not an easy environment to walk into. But Pete, before we look at Game 3, let's look back on the first 2 games of this 2024 Stanley Cup Final. Florida not just victorious in Sunrise, but in dominant fashion. A 3-goal margin in each of the first 2, 3-zip in game number 1, 4-1 in game number 2. Pete, why have the margins been so large here in each of the first 2 games of the Cup Final?
I mean, certainly because Edmonton's top guys have all been held without goals. McDavid, Draisaitl, and Evan Bouchard, all with goose eggs in that category so far. So that is the first thing that needs to change. And then some of the secondary guys, of course, need to step up, whether it's a Nugent Hopkins or a Vander Kane, or even deeper down the line, Adam Henrique, a guy they acquired at the trade deadline. Those are guys that you're going to need major contributions from over the course of the series to even give yourself a chance. So that's why big picture season series, 4 victories for Florida, none for Edmonton, all on the puck line, all by multiple goals, and a combined 17-5 margin. That's pretty eye-opening. That said, I expect Edmonton to win one of the two games at home at least and keep the other one close. I think this is going to take a little bit of a turn here.
You should have a perfect storm in game number 2 as well, because you go on the road, you know the crowd's going to be loud. You haven't scored in game number 1. You get that first goal, and then you see 4 unanswered goals by the Florida Panthers in an easy victory. If we take a look at the series now, Florida's a minus 490 favorite to win at Edmonton as a plus 365. Now, some of those price points might go into this, because I want to ask you this question. You know, a lot of chatter around should Leon Draisaitl be suspended. He wasn't. And also the advent of Barkov. Will he play in game number 3, or what is his opportunities over the next couple of games to return back to the ice here, Pete?
Right. The playing field changes a little bit with how that is playing out, right? Barkov, hopefully he plays. It sounds a little promising that he's getting better each day. If he comes back for game 3, that's major for Florida. Florida can withstand a game or two, I think, without him because they have good center depth. They have, of course, Bennett, who's a physical player. Anton Lundell has had a breakout postseason with 14 points in 19 games as mostly a third liner. They also have Sam Reinhart, who has played a lot of center at a high level in his NHL career, especially when he was back with the Buffalo Sabres before getting traded. So I think Florida can withstand this here. But if you take potentially Barkov, the best defensive forward in the NHL, out of the equation, sure, that would be an incentive to look at some of these props offensively for the Edmonton's top guys, especially for them to break through on the power play. They're 0 for 7 in the series. That is the first order of business. When they get those opportunities at home, they got to finish the job and give themselves an upper hand.
Florida was the pre-Cup final favorites at minus 130. Now that commanding 2-0 series advantage, as Donnie alluded to, nearly a $5 odds-on favorite at minus 490. But we haven't played a game up in the Great White North in Edmonton just yet. So, Pete, if the Oilers are to get back in this series, how does Edmonton do it?
I mean, Stuart Skinner is probably going to have to steal one of those games. I think what we saw in game 2 as opposed to game 1, Edmonton heavily outshot Florida. I don't see that happening very much the rest of the way. Florida is one of those teams, they're possession savvy. With or without Barkov, they grind you down and they wear you out over the course of a game. That's such a strong third period team are the Panthers. So I think it's going to be one of those things where maybe even if they eke out game 3, it might have to be something where Skinner makes 35, 40 saves and gets the victory standing on his head a little bit. Maybe Edmonton's guys get you a couple goals and they win maybe a 3-2 or a 4-3 type game. So maybe look at the Skinner saves prop in either games 3 or 4, considering he's likely to have his team get outshot in one or both of these games against Florida.
Yeah, he's definitely got a match up against Bobrovsky, which brings us to the Conn Smythe Trophy odds here. You take a look at the leader in the clubhouse right now. It is Sergei Bobrovsky at a minus 200 price, followed by Connor McDavid at a 5-1. Now, interesting here, Barkov at a plus 550 price, third on the leaderboard here, even though his status for Game 3 technically still up in the air. Tkachuk, Bouchard, Verhaeghe after him. If we're looking for the Conn Smythe right now, is it Bobrovsky's to lose here for you, Pete?
I mean, based on the Cup final, I know the award is based on votes and play over the 4 rounds combined. Right now, like recency bias has everybody gravitating toward Bobrovsky, and rightfully so. He's 2-0. He's only given up 1 goal in the 2 games. He's got a great road record, so he has a chance to, I think 6-2 Florida is, and Bobrovsky's played every game for them. So he's in the driver's seat right now. That said, that number on Barkov, if he does come back and he's, the conquering hero and maybe scores a goal in the clinching game, he may only need to play, 1 more game in this series. If he comes back, defies the injury, and maybe gets you a big goal in a big moment. I mean, he's the guy that has been the most consistent on Florida's side, offensively and defensively, shutting down some of these top players along the way, right? Whether it's Kucherov and the Lightning in the first round, David Pastrnak containing him in the second round, and then absolutely neutralizing the play of New York Rangers star Artemi Panarin in the third round and just making him a non-factor in that series. If he does that in this series as well, containing McDavid in 1 or 2 more games played, I think that could wrap it up here for Barkov.
The man known as Bob has stood on his head and has been great. The clean sheet in game one. The second best price, though, even in front of Sasha Barkov, is Connor McDavid at a 5-1 number because there is still optimism for the Oilers. Edmonton, Pete, tomorrow night booked as a home ice favorite at -140. If Edmonton and the odds makers are correct, does eke out a victory in game 3 to get their first of this Stanley Cup final, how much longer will the Cup final play out?
My pick was Florida in 6. I think if Edmonton gets game 3, there's a real chance of that happening. But yeah, I do still think that Florida, and we looked at it, right? Like I think it's like less than 10% of the teams in Cup final history who have trailed the series 2-0 have come back to win it. The last one was the 2011 Bruins, so it doesn't happen very often at all. So the odds are heavily stacked against McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Chris Knobloch, and the Oilers. But Edmonton's been a good home team, 6-3 this postseason. McDavid has 19 points in 9 home playoff games to lead the NHL, and he also is leading the series in shots on goal right now. With 9 through 2 games, that's a high volume. He's knocking at the door. Expect things to flip the script a little bit in McDavid's favor, I think, in game 3.
+135 for Connor McDavid to tickle the twine in game 3, get on the board and get his Oilers on the board in terms of registering a victory in the 2024 Stanley Cup final. That's tomorrow night in Edmonton at Rogers Place. Exactly. Home ice advantage that Edmonton needs. Pete Jensen from the NHL, we appreciate the time. Thank you for looking at the Stanley Cup final forecast for us.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, it should be great. And hopefully Edmonton, pushes back at home to make this thing a little interesting. I think we'd all like to see more hockey, and hopefully I see you guys again next week if things are still going.
Pete, we hope so, because both of the finals that we have right now on the ice and on the hardwood look like they could be done early. We go back to the association up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, .920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
On this day of Game 3 of the 2024 NBA Finals, some sad news that just came down the wire to share here on this Wednesday on the early line. Jerry West, the NBA logo, Zeke from Cabin Creek, has passed away as of this morning. Some very sad news to share here. The 14-time NBA All-Star, the 12-time All-NBA Hall of Famer, and of course, the 1969 NBA Finals MVP has passed away this morning. We welcome James Young onto the show live right here on the early line. JY, not how we anticipated welcoming you onto the show, but in the last minute, this news about Jerry West's passing has hit social media. What is your reaction to what we have just learned about Jerry West?
We lost an icon. We lost a legend. We lost the logo. We lost one of the best big game players in the history of the NBA, Jerry West, that for all his career just could not get by, the Celtics for all those years of Red Auerbach and Bob Cousy and Bill Russell. And then he ran into the Knicks in 70 and honestly took one of the best performances in a Game 7 of Walt Clyde Frazier, his 36-19 to beat them. But finally in 72, he finally got his redemption by beating the Knicks, I do believe, in 5 games to win the 1972 NBA championship. So this is an iconic figure that, yeah, you may sit there and say, oh, he only won one NBA championship. But he did turn around and win 8 of them as an executive, rebuilding that Lakers that was really downtrodden until they got Magic Johnson in 1980. 8 championships from 1980 to 2017. Jerry West, one of the all-time greatest point guards, Mr. Clutch, his nickname, one of the best we lost today. May he rest in peace.
So as we
certainly
keep it rolling here, we'll continue to bring you any updates for that breaking news. But Jerry West has passed away peacefully this morning with his wife Karen at his side at the age of 86 years old. Now to some basketball on the horizon tonight in Dallas for game number 3 of the 2024 NBA Finals. The big news yesterday, JY, to get us ready for the change of venue, the injury status of Kristaps Porzingis, listed as questionable for game number 3, listed as day-to-day for the remainder of this NBA Finals. But for many, a social media doctor, including the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, it does not seem likely that Kristaps Porzingis is going to play tonight or for the rest of this championship series. How does his absence affect the rest of the NBA Finals?
It affects it a lot. And if you were looking for a pathway for Dallas to come back in this series, this is it. And I want to kind of take this, folks, away from the gambling and take a look at it as a coach. When you are a coach, you have to prepare a certain way, right, Ben, for a certain lineup, how they're going to come out there. And when you look at a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, he affects the game on both sides of the floor. His ability to stretch the floor up to 25, 30 feet from the basket with his long-range shooting, the ability to punch the gap as a big that's secretly athletic. He only needs about one dribble to get from the NBA three-point line to the basket to go up and score. But also, when you pull up his stats, it's the 2.5 blocks per game. You're going to say, well, Coach, it's only 2.5 blocks, 3 blocks a game. It's not a big deal. Folks, it's a lot deeper than that. It's not just the blocks he gets. It's the shots he's altered. And most importantly, Ben, it's the game plan that he changes for a team like the Dallas Mavericks. Now Jason Kidd may have to go with a different game plan. Now they may look to attack off the bounce a little bit. But also for Joe Mazzulla's sake is now you have Al Horford will start obviously. Now you're going to bring Luke Kornet off the bench. One reason why I think secretly why Mazzulla went with this lineup with Porzingis off the bench is to allow him to match up with Lively off the bench. This now unlocks maybe Derek Lively to be a little bit more lively in his performance. And now this is the pathway why you've seen the line already move from -1.5 to -2.5 for Dallas in the last day.
Key injury is certainly going to play a part in how these finals wind up. And also, let's keep in mind here, Luka Doncic getting shots injected into his knee just to be able to play. He's been hampered by this knee injury for quite some time, at least through this playoff run. Looking at the information that we're getting now where he's actively getting shots, and we anticipate another shot coming tonight before game number 3, does that impact your handicap at all from a Mavericks perspective, Coach?
Not much, because I think it goes hand in hand. I think you shoot them up, you have them play through the pain or numb it up. But then on the flip side, when you look at something like this, it goes back to the Porzingis factor. You have now a situation where, if you are Joe Mazzulla, right, with Porzingis at the front of the rim, you're going to get up into Luka and Kyrie's space, right, because you want to funnel him to the basket. Well, now if you don't have that rim protector, that changes your defensive outlook. Maybe now you can't give him a little bit more space to allow him to shoot, because now if you get up on him, he's going to punch the gap. I think it opens up a lot of different things for Luka. Maybe, the over 3.5 made threes and minus 170 is just way too much for me. Maybe something, see if he starts out the game slow, see if you get the juice to drop a little bit and then jump in end game. I think if I'm Boston, I may have to give him a little bit more space, which could open up the three-point shot for him tonight.
Luka did not start slow, of course, in game number 2. He has made at least 4 threes in both of the 2 games so far in this NBA Finals. But Kristaps Porzingis, not only the scoring output in games 1 and 2, 5 blocks in the first 2 games, multiple in each, 3 in game 1, 2 more in game number 2. So not only, JY, has the absence of KP moved the line for game number 3 tonight, but the overall series price still minus 770 in favor of Boston. But yesterday it was minus 950 to seize a hefty favorite up 2 games to none. Does the absence of Kristaps Porzingis, we asked you about for this game and the rest of the series, but does it ultimately change how you think this series ends up and who wins the Larry O'Brien Trophy?
It opens up more of a pathway to Dallas. I think Dallas winning it is going to, honestly, at this point, Ben, it's going to have to be 7 games. So maybe the best play could be Dallas plus 2.5 games at plus 108 right now. Maybe a way for you to go ahead and get it. They win tonight. Maybe they win game number 4, and then you've already cashed out and won.
I think it's a really good look in terms of just seeing this duration go. If Boston does not win in 5 games or less, you cash that series spread with the Mavericks a 2.5 game underdog. Now to the specifics of game 3 up next.
SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
Be a guy that's really useful in your fantasy rotation? I think the answer is yes.
Game time decisions.
And guess what? I'm going to lose the bet because he's injured again.
Betting above the rim.
He's got a broke J. That's all there is to it. He's got no confidence in that jump shot.
My thing you've always heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Wondering when that was going to happen, and the answer is it just did.
Sometimes you think the bigger guy will have the advantage. Well, if the little guy can move, Joe, it's hard to hit the little guy sometimes when you're a big boy, right?
In-game live, prime time.
20-1, I'm going to take a little flyer on Justin Rose.
In-game live, overtime.
As you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
1.81 goals against average, 920 save percentage. He's also 6-2 in his last 8 road starts as well. The Oilers are a great road team. I actually think it's an advantage for them that they don't have home ice. That potentially 4 of the games are on the road. We've seen 56% of the games this year in the NHL playoffs, the road team has actually won.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Game number 3 of the 2024 NBA Finals tonight in Dallas. We changed venue for the first time in this championship series, and the Mavericks back at home in the Lone Star State, booked as a favorite for the first time in the NBA Finals. In fact, it is just the 4th time now in 99 games overall this year for the Celtics. They have been booked as an underdog. Only 3 times in the regular season, not a single time throughout this playoff run for the C's. The total stands at 212 and a hook. So we talked about Luka Doncic getting a shot in his knee. We talked about Kristaps Porzingis. More than likely will not play tonight in game number 3, probably not again for the rest of the 2024 NBA Finals. But as we focus specifically on the matchup tonight in Dallas, JY, between the Celtics and the Mavericks, if the Mavs are going to make good on that favored number, if the Mavericks are going to get win number 1 of the NBA Finals, what is the reason why?
Well, we talk about shots. Kyrie Irving needs a shot of adrenaline because if it comes down to it, Ben, he's got to be markedly better. And I'm looking squarely at his over-under 4.5 points in the first quarter. Simply put, Kyrie needs to come out slugging. And that means a 3 and a 2 early on. I think everything is correlated with this Porzingis injury. I think Kyrie's got to be better. You got to look at Kyrie Irving that, guys, I'm going to say this. This could be a career-defining moment in Kyrie Irving's career. I know he has the chips already, the Game 7 shot he hit against Golden State. But he has not been good in this series. And if he wants to erase the narrative, he's got to show up and show it early. I love Kyrie Irving to be aggressive. I love Kyrie Irving to go over his 4.5 points in the first quarter and actually may take him over 23.5. This needs to be a breakout game, Ben, because if it's not, they don't have a chance to win.
Let's take a look at the Celtics here and some of their props per player. And also keep in mind, winning that MVP of the finals still very much up for grabs. Will it be a night where Jason Tatum takes over, Jaylen Brown takes over, or even Drew Holiday? From that Celtics perspective, Coach, who steps up and rises up to the occasion tonight for them?
You know, to me, it's going to be Jason Tatum, but Jason Tatum has done a little bit of everything. I think there's a point where he needs to go out and go and score the ball. And I think I'm looking at Tatum the same way I'm looking at Kyrie. Now, Tatum's points prop is 7.5 points plus 112. I think he also needs to come out and be a little bit aggressive and kind of take it to him a little bit. So I'm looking at Tatum over in the first quarter points. I'm thinking those two may trade, jabs early on in this game and get the game going. Jason Tatum scoring the ball. He's done everything else, guys. Let's be honest. He's been great with the rebounding. His ability to create for others and willing to sacrifice it's been great. But when you go on the road guys don't shoot as well in the home gym. They got to shoot better, particularly Tatum. I think he goes off to a good start tonight.
26.5, the points prop for Jason Tatum. He has been well under so far in the first 2 games of this 2024 NBA Finals. Now to Kyrie Irving and Dallas. 23.5 is the points prop for Kyrie. He has not reached 20 yet throughout this NBA championship series. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic, 30-plus in both of the first 2 games. His points prop up there to 32.5. If you add it up, JY, doing the simple math, carry the 7, that's 56 expected combined points between Luka and Kyrie tonight. Can Dallas win game number 3 if those 2 don't go over that combined total?
They better be damn close, Ben. Like, if it's like 54, 55, yeah. But if it's 45, 42, 40, no chance. It's got to be Kyrie. Ben, it's more about the fact of their ability to, what we've talked about, trade roles of Batman and Robin. Allow Kyrie to get going a little bit, to rest up Luka a little bit. We always talk about as a coach, you rest offensively, not defensively. So to me, let Kyrie cook early. Him and Luka trade roles. As long as they get in that 54, 55 range, I think they should have enough to win tonight.
Game number 3 tonight in Dallas. The Mavericks at home throughout this postseason run. 8 games booked as the favorite in all 8. 5-3 straight up. 4-4 against the number. The Boston Celtics, JY, on the road 6 times. A perfect 6-0, but booked as a favorite in all previous 6 road contests for the C's. An underdog for the first time in this playoff run for Boston. James Young, a fadeaway to the break. Ahead of game number 3 tonight in Dallas of the 2024 NBA Finals. We're back for hour number 3. A couple of pump fakes. We're back for hour number 3 of the early line on this Wednesday. Up next.